Welcome to day 2 of the 7-day Queen Cleanse. Now, in this video today, the theme is all about perfecting the technique. Why do you need a perfect smoothie technique? It's simple. If the technique is not on point, you are not going to want to do this every single season. But since you're on this cleanse right now, one of the main things you want to be able to do is make sure that your technique is on point. The only reason that makes so much sense is because you are, over the course of the next 7 days, every single thing that you're doing needs to help you build long-term wellness equity. Wellness equity is the one thing that we need that no one else can buy or give to us. It is the one thing that helps us in every single area of our lives and the way we show up and serve in our purpose. So smoothies are the simplest way to get a lot of nutrients into a tiny little cup and make sure that you're doing that every single season. So with theme 2 today, we're going to be talking about perfecting your technique. Now, if you missed yesterday's video for day 1, starting positive and staying positive, you want to make sure that you go back either in the Royal Wellness and Wealth Tribe or somewhere along near where this video is actually posted, or in your previous day's email, so that you can be able to watch that particular video. Now, in that video, we covered how to choose the right kind of blender, get your equipment straight, and then we did a live smoothie demonstration and how to actually perfect the consistency of the smoothie. There are 3 things you want to be aware of when you're looking at perfecting your smoothie technique. Number 1 is that it has to have an amazing consistency that feels good to you. Now, some people like to opt for something a little bit thicker. We talked about this in the video yesterday as well. And some people want things that are a little bit more smooth and that are a little bit runny. So however you choose to do your smoothies and whatever consistency feels right to you, make sure that you perfect that consistency. The next thing you want to do is make sure it tastes amazing. Let's be clear. If it doesn't taste good, you're probably not going to make it more than once, okay? So you've got to make sure that in perfecting your technique, that it actually tastes good. Now, I have several extra things that you can add to a smoothie that I'm going to share with you on this video today. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about what's in these things and how to kind of make your own at home for every time you go on a cleanse. You not only have the basic recipes and the basic format of the cleanse, which is what you have in the 7-Day Queen Cleanse Guide, but you've got an idea of what the extras are. Now, your extras should always be geared towards whatever your overarching goal is for the specific cleanse and why you're cleansing. Some people like to cleanse because they're preparing their body for the next season, right? Some people want to cleanse to shed a few pounds. Some people want to cleanse because they want their bodies to feel a little bit warmer as the seasons change. And we're going to talk a little bit about all of that today on this specific video, so that when you walk away, you're not just perfecting the technique of the actual consistency of the smoothie, but you're perfecting the technique of what you're putting in your body to keep you well long term. All right. So the first thing is make sure you have an amazing consistency. The second thing is make sure it is mind-blowingly delicious. And then the third thing is make sure that it is packed with nutrients. And so with that being said, we're going to move into these different ingredients that I have sitting here, because I want to share with you why I use them, why I keep them in my arsenal, and how you can begin to add them a little at a time over time so that you can consistently build wellness equity. Okay. All right. Now remember, many of these things and the things that I'm showing you today are on a list in your email. If you downloaded the 7-Day Queen Cleanse Guide, you are on our email list, and we are sending you amazing information. So you want to make sure you don't miss a minute of that. So make sure that you add info@angelacudger.com to your contacts so that you can get all of this amazing information. Now, I'm going to be covering some of that today, but there's even more in your inbox for you to read a little bit more through the information and kind of keep it for your arsenal. So first things first, one of the things that I really like to add as an extra to smoothies is different types of seeds. Now, seeds are different types of seeds have a ton of nutrients packed in a little tiny grain. So whether you're doing sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, no matter what you're actually doing, make sure that you're adding the seed in, knowing full well what the intent is and what you're going to get out of it. For instance, we have some black chia seeds here that I actually love to be able to add. And black chia seeds are actually a great source of fiber and fat. So you want to make sure that when you're on a cleanse, cleanses are not designed, even though some people target fat loss for cleanses, cleanses in and of themselves are not designed for you to cut fat completely out. As a matter of fact, when you add fat in, fat has an amazing tendency to balance your hormones. And this is key. A lot of women actually move into hormonal imbalances because they actually move away from fat, or they get so caught up in trying to actually lose the fat or lose weight that they think is attributed to excess fat in different areas of the body. And they, as a result, take fat out of their diet, or they look for low fat options, when in fact, the fat in and of itself helps to balance your overall hormones. So you definitely don't want to you don't want to cut them out. Even on a cleanse, you should still be getting 30%, 20% fat in your diet to make sure that as you cleanse, all your systems stay well and everything stays perfect. Chia seeds, along with flax seeds, are a great way to get those fats back in. Now, you can either get, these are basic chia seeds, and let you kind of look at that. These are basic black chia seeds, but these are whole flax seeds. I want you to kind of look at that as well. These are actually whole flax seeds. So they are not as big as a sunflower seed, but they are very small, and they still need to be ground up. In yesterday's video, I talked to you about when you're supposed to insert these in the mixture of your smoothie. You can either, if you've got the whole flax seed, you want to add these when you add your hard ingredients, meaning your frozen fruit, your ice, things like that. If you've got milled flax seed, or if you've got regular ground chia seed, or flax meal, or chia meal, or something that is ground down, and I'll share you a meal and what I mean by meal when I say that. If you've got these in a form that's powdered down, you want to make sure you add that towards the end of the mixture so that you can have get as much of the nutrient density out of it as absolutely possible. So those are two things that you definitely want to add, and these are also listed in your email, the chia seed and the flax seed. When you're starting with these, start with probably about a teaspoon, I say, to make sure that you're getting enough of that in. Now, it should tell you also what the serving size is on the backs of these to let you know how much fat, how much of everything in the particular seed is giving you. You want to make sure that you're paying attention to that and adding a serving at a time. Now, these may change the consistency of your smoothie. They are not exactly designed to change the taste of your smoothie, but any fat that you add to a smoothie, whether it's a fresh avocado, whether it's an oil-based supplement, or whether it's a seed-based supplement, you want to make sure that as you add those, you're aware of how it's going to change the consistency of your smoothie. It usually, depending on the fat density, causes a fluffing. Or more of a fluffy, rich, and creamy type of a recipe. And so if that's something that you're looking for, then you definitely want to make sure you're adding fats in there, or fat that feels good or makes sense to you. Some other things that you want to add to your smoothies are spices. Spices are my absolute favorite, and I have a gang of spices. I only brought a couple out here to show you guys, but I have so many spices, and I stay in the spice market because they're extremely cheap. When you go to a farmer's market. Now, any of the stuff that I'm sharing with you today, make sure that you actually find these things at a farmer's market or at a local farmer's market. If you can get to a large indoor market, it'll probably be a lot more cost effective for you that way. If you cannot seem to get to an indoor market, or you can't find a farmer's market, your local grocer or local health food store should also have these spices in bulk form, and I'm going to show you what that means in a moment. Here's why I like spices and why I fell in love with spices. As a bodybuilder, when I competed as a bodybuilder, obviously the fat stores in my body drastically decreased. It's just something that happens when you're getting ready to get on stage in a bikini in front of everybody. All your fat stores got to go bye-bye. And so as those fat stores leave your body, remember I told you that your hormones start to get a little bit off, which I experienced that as well. So I know what it takes to get them back balanced. But also the thing that happens internally is that the synovial fluid around your joints begin to dry out. They dry out naturally as you lose your fat stores, and they dry out naturally as the winter months and the fall comes in and as it gets colder where you live. Now, if you live on a beach somewhere and you're all in the sun every day, all day, then kudos to you. I'm looking forward to that kind of life. But where I live in Georgia, we get all 4 seasons. And so with that being said, when the winter and the fall months come in, I try to kick up my spice for a couple reasons. Number one, because I'm vegan and I've cut out a lot of meat. And so I don't pull things that make extra blood cells from meat sources that have made blood. So I don't pull my ability to make more blood cells and things like that and get iron. I don't get those from animal-based sources, which is one of the easiest ways to proliferate more blood and make you have higher endurance and things like that. But there are also other ways that are completely plant-based where you can still have your body be able to thrive over time. Since I don't make blood that way, I tend to be a little bit cold in the wintertime. When someone else is just kind of chilly, I've got the heat turned on at 80 to 85 degrees. Like, seriously, I want to stay warm. And so spices are my go-to for staying warm. The second reason why I always add spices is because I run outside in the wintertime. Rain, sleet, snow. I love being out in the outdoors, and I love being in the elements of the weather. And I don't shy away just because it's a little bit cold at 5 a.m. in the morning. I get up, I get dressed, and I go out and I make my run. When I come back in, though, I am cold. And so I use spices in my smoothies and different things. When I'm on a cleanse, I make sure that I use them so that they are in my body and they help keep the body warm. So those are the 2 reasons I use them. Spices are also amazing for inflammation. If you're someone who is coming onto this cleanse and you've been eating meat or you've been taking in animal products and all of a sudden you stop those animal products, you have some form of inflammation around your joints. The only reason I say this is because the way that animal products are processed in the United States, it is designed, the chemicals that are used in animal-based products are designed to cause inflammation in our shoulders, in our hips, in our knees, in our ankles, in all of our different joints, around our fingers, our wrists. It's no wonder we start to feel a little bit stiff around the winter months. It's not just because of what we're eating, but it's coupled with the fact that the joints begin to kind of get a little bit drier around the cooler months. Spices help to eliminate the inflammation, and spices help to actually keep you warmer during these winter months. And they're more than just for tea. You want to be adding these to your smoothies too. That's why you have the spicy kale recipe and some of those things. So, and spices in and of themselves, also each of them have their own amazing things that they do. So I'm going to share with you a couple that I use on a consistent basis, and then I'm going to share with you a concoction that I pulled together that I use on a regular basis. So the first one is cinnamon. I love organic cinnamon. I am not picky about where it comes from, but if you're going to get cinnamon, make sure that you invest in what is called Saigon cinnamon. You want to make sure that you avoid the cinnamon that says cassia or C-A-S-S-I-A, I think it's how it's spelled. But you want to make sure that you're getting either Saigon or just a regular type of cinnamon. Now, you can get this from anywhere. You can get it from farmers market, Whole Food stores, wherever you want to be able to get it. It's not hiding, so it's out there. But cinnamon in and of itself has a warming effect to the body. It's amazing for the joints and fighting inflammation. And if you're someone who is pre-diabetic or has diabetes, or you're on the spectrum, meaning that you have some of the other precursors like hypertension, obesity, things like that, you want to get some cinnamon in your arsenal and use it on everything, meaning whether it's in your tea, whether it's in your smoothie, it in and of itself, it is the spice that balances blood sugar. This one rules balancing your blood sugar, stabilizing your blood sugar. It's a quick way to make sure that your brain gets stable in the morning as well. And so this type of spice is amazing when you're adding it to your smoothie. Add it to taste. It does have a different spice to it. It won't change the consistency of your smoothie, but it will change the taste. Remember, we're looking for those 3 things: the consistency that we want, the mind-blowing taste, and packed with nutrients. This is how you perfect the technique going forward, okay? So cinnamon is one. The next one is cayenne pepper, which I buy mine in bulk. And we where I live, we can either buy these in the flat containers or they come in the taller containers. But cayenne pepper, and then I also have some red pepper flakes. And so I use these in different types of drinks. I use them in my lemon water. You can use these in a lot of different things. You can use them also to kick up the spice in your smoothie. Talk about warm. It's not just about being warm in your mouth, but it's also about getting these things to your joints to help not only fight the inflammation and move things along properly, but to also help you in the long run and keeping inflammation down completely. And so these spices in particular have a whole lot of nutrient density to them. So you want to make sure that you're adding them definitely to taste on a regular basis to your smoothies. Once again, it's not going to change the consistency, but it will absolutely change the taste. And you already know that. You already know that if you're looking at the spicy kale recipe. So those are those two. Some other ones that you can use are turmeric, which you see a lot of the ladies in the group using the turmeric. And you can also use something in this concoction I have, and I'll tell you about this container, is curry. And so I'm going to tell you what's in here and why I use it and how you can use it in your wellness arsenal for a head to toe thing. So this is pretty phenomenal what's in this jar. But turmeric and curry powder, coriander, things like that, you can use those spices for the same reasons, to make sure that it balances and stabilizes your hormones, to make sure that it actually fights the inflammation that animal products or processed foods have allowed to happen in the body, and to make sure that it keeps you warm this winter and keep the body warm this winter. When you're in cold months, you want to try to keep the body warm, and just like when you're in the warmer or hot months, you want to try to do things to keep the body cool. So that's why when you're in the warmer months, like the summer and the spring, or ushering into the spring and summer, you want to make sure that you're doing things that actually allow the body to stay cool. So a lot of people I know throw these huge barbecues with hot foods and things like that, and then they may have one thing that's cold, like fresh fruit, or they may have one thing that's cold, like potato salad or something like that. And so you have people that actually cook out sometimes every weekend over the summer, and that's so detrimental to the body. And it's no wonder that when they move into the winter months, they feel like, oh, my joints ache and things like that. It's not just from the animal products, but it mostly comes from putting the reverse type of thing into the body, meaning that the body wanted something cool, like fresh greens, fresh fruits, more fresh vegetables, things like that, or things that are in room temperature, raw dishes, things like that. And so the body craves more of those things when it's in the warmer months. And when we give things like barbecue and things like that to our body, it's okay once or twice, but for people that eat it most of the summer, it's really not, it really doesn't lend to long-term wellness. I'll say that. So turmeric is so good. Turmeric is something that from head to toe you need for your skin. People use turmeric for lots and lots of different things. I love it in my smoothies. And so I love being able to have a little bit of turmeric. Goes a long way. Now, turmeric may change the consistency of your smoothie, and turmeric may definitely change the taste of your smoothie. So when you're perfecting your technique, start with just a little bit. Start with just half a teaspoon, drop it in, see how it works for you, see what it tastes like. If that's too strong for you or it changes it too much for you, make sure that you kind of dial it back to be able to get what you need. Now, the reason I buy these in bulk, and the reason I tell you to buy these in bulk, I wanted to make sure you guys can see the price. For this whole thing of cayenne, it's actually, let me see, I like being able to measure. That one's 1.4 ounces. Okay, cool. So this is probably twice as much as what you're going to get like off a store shelf of a spice. So these are probably twice as much. And this particular cinnamon, I can tell you from a store, cost me about $5.99. Okay, $4 or $5 roughly. These guys cost 80 cents and 99 cents. So when you go somewhere that allows you to buy these in bulk, like from a farmer's market or from a Whole Foods, you get so much more in the space of it being more cost effective and using it long term. Okay. So those are those things. Same thing with the chia seeds, same thing with the flax seeds, same thing with those things in that space. try to get your stuff in bulk if you can, or from a location that has it in bulk. Now, before I go into this little concoction here, I want to show you the green powders, because as you're on this smoothie cleanse, the green smoothies, you want to be able to supplement and kick those up to get more out of them. And the beautiful thing about these green powders, there's 4 of them that I'm going to share with you, is that you can actually use these for just you can actually use these just for greens and water, like having just a green powder. Some of them are designed for you to just dissolve them in water without having to put them in a smoothie. Now, before I move to that really quick though, if you've got the spices, remember you can add this after you've blended down the hard things like the ice and the frozen fruit. After you blended those things down, then you can add your spices in there and make sure they get mixed in really, 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 really well. So we've got some spirulina powder, which is in this thing. I buy it in bulk. We got some kelp powder, which is here. We've got moringa powder. Got some moringa powder, and then we have some alfalfa powder, which are some of my favorites. And so green powders in and of themselves are actually just amazing for the body. One of the things I want you to know is that, or one of the things we have to keep in mind, especially if you're living here in the US with me, if you're living abroad, it might be a little bit different. But if you're here in the United States where I live, specifically on the East Coast, the way that food is mass produced here in the States, the nutrient density in foods are just shot, right? What do I mean by that? I mean that 1 apple in 1950 is probably equal to 8 apples right now in 2017. You can never eat as much as you need to get the nutrient density of what we used to be able to get in our soil. Because things are mass produced here in the States, the nutrient density in the soil has completely declined. Now, we can still grow good stuff, and this is unless you are growing your own stuff, the nutrients in the stuff that we have right now is so nutrient depleted. For a long time, they used to say that the most nutrient depleted foods ever are all in the grocer or the supermarket. And if you wanted nutrient dense things, you got to kind of go out and look for them, because you know, as things are just farmed, pulled in, and cultivated and put into grocery stores, a lot of times that stuff it lacks nutrient density. And so unless you're going to a farmer's market or someplace like that, then you are not getting the most nutrient dense kale, right? Versus another one, right? Versus getting another kind of kale. And so that is where green powders kick butt. That is where you can add the nutrients back with green powders, and you can pack so much more nutrient density, phytonutrients into your smoothies than you would ever get with kale or spinach or spirulina or wheatgrass on its own. And so what you want to be looking for though is the same thing. Sea vegetables that are powdered down. You want to also be looking at green powders like spirulina, wheatgrass, kelp, all those different ones, alfalfa, moringa, all the different powders. You want to be able to have these in your arsenal for long-term wellness, especially if you're shopping at just a commercial grocery store like a Kroger or a Publix or a Costco or Sam's or anywhere, or Walmart even, that offers fruits and vegetables in an abundance. You want to make sure that as you are going through this cleanse, you're perfecting the technique of what you need. Not just what's in your neighborhood, but where do you need to go to make sure that every season when you pull this cleanse out, it's on point. And every single piece of this perfects the technique of keeping you well. 80% of how we look and feel comes out of the stuff that we eat. And if we can perfect the technique of what we put into this amazing body, this body will give us so much more back. And so making sure that we get a lot of nutrients in. Most people are nutrient depleted because they just eat what's kind of on the plate or what's served at a restaurant, and we don't really realize that we're not getting the best. And then even on the cleanse, we don't understand that there's a technique to cleansing, that it's more than just grab the recipe and go, right? It's an amazing place to start, but adding what else is missing is the key piece to making sure that you kick up your wellness long term. So perfect your technique. So we've got green powders here. All of these, like I said, are amazing. Some of these can be ordered online. If you can get to a location that has green powders in bulk, please, please, please get to a location that will allow you to get some. A little bit goes a long way. Now, I will tell you this, the more green you add to your smoothie, you probably already know this, but the more green you add to your smoothie, the more it takes on an earthy type of flavor. So it's definitely going to change the way your smoothie tastes. It may not change so much the consistency, but that mind-blowing taste you're looking for, it's going to be earthy. Here's what I challenge you to do. I challenge you to create your perfect green smoothie that gives you some more spirulina in it, that gives you more kelp, alfalfa, and different things like that. And so I want you to make sure, and even sea vegetables, sea items like kelp and like things that are seaweed and things that are like diatomaceous earth. All these things can come in powder form, and you can use those for your smoothies to make sure that you're not just balancing your hormones, but that as you move through this cleanse, you're not minerally deficient at all, and that you're plugging up all of those holes to your nutrition. This is how you reset. All right, so green powders, that's where you want to be. The last thing I'm going to show you is a concoction that I made and I add to my smoothies. But I can actually use this concoction, believe it or not, I can actually use this concoction as a face mask as well. So what is in here? So first of all, I just took an actual, this was like a container that had something in it. And I just kept the container because I like the jar in and of itself. I keep containers. I keep candle containers that have lids and things like that. So I just decided to keep this amazing container. But in this container is a mixture. It is a mixture of turmeric. It is a mixture of turmeric, ginger, powdered black rice, and powdered cayenne. It has a bunch of different things in it that will allow me to stay well. And so this is how I perfected my technique. If perfecting your technique means that you're taking spirulina, wheatgrass, kelp, moringa, alfalfa, which these are absolutely phenomenal. If you have blood pressure issues or pre-blood pressure issues, or even if you're stressed but you don't have blood pressure issues, get some greens in your life and get them in there to stay. And so one of the things that you can do is create a concoction with your powders. And so when I do my smoothies, I dip out a portion of this and I make sure that I have it. Now, the beautiful thing about this is I can double this and use it as a mask for my skin. So turmeric is awesome for the skin. So is ginger and black rice and things like that. They are amazing at being masks for the skin. They are amazing at making sure that your pores stay small. They are amazing at keeping the skin tight, healthy, beautiful, and glowing as a mask that just works for about 10 to 15 minutes, right? So it's about perfecting the technique, not just of what you put in the body, but on the body as well. And this is how I found that it works for me. Everyone else is completely different. Your overarching goal may be different. Your cleansing over this period of time. Some people are on their second 7 days, and oh my God, that's phenomenal. But as you move through this, make sure that you keep in mind what your overarching goal is. And the overarching goal shouldn't be, I want to drop 20 pounds, or I want to drop a couple dress sizes. The overarching goal, remember, I don't know if you guys remember this, and I'll tag this video here if I can find it, but I did a video on how much further we could go in our lives when we tie everything we do to our wellness, when we tie everything we do to that mind, body, and soul connectivity piece. That is what takes our lives, our businesses, our dreams, our passions, our purposes to the next level. And that's what it's really about. So we're not tying it into something that is just tangible. We're tying it into something that goes deeper within ourselves and how we show up, right? And so I hope that you've got something amazing out of this video. Make sure you go and try some of these different things. Perfect your technique. Do you like it spicy? Do you like it sweet? Do you like it savory? How do you like your smoothies? But make sure it has the 3 things that you're looking for in a perfect technique. And that is great consistency that feels good to you, mind-blowing deliciousness, and you want to make sure it's packed with nutrients. And that is how you perfect your smoothie technique. Here's to day 2, queens.